Okay, so once you're all set up with your 1380i and it's in place and you have your back roller on, then you're going to want to come over and ensure that all these white clips are unclipped on your hoses. All these valves are turned open, so that is closed, that is open. You have a clip on your white hose there as well. Make sure you get that. Then when you come to the front, you open this up. You're going to have 6 screws to take off of your cover. It's covering your head and dampers. And then you want to pull that off slowly, so you're not pulling on any hoses or anything. And that will expose all your dampers in your head. And then when you have that exposed, you're going to want to unclip all of the clips on the color, and you're going to want to unclip all of the clips on your white. And there'll also be 2 clips on the white manifold here. There's one there needs to be unclipped and another one there. As well as on the top here, you're going to have 2 zip ties. Those need to be cut, and the zip ties that are holding it down over here will need to be cut as well. And try not to move the head at all while you're cutting the zip ties and pulling them off. And then you could pull off this side panel here. And once you have the side panel off, you can get to your waste hose. So you want to run your waste hose. Now your waste hose will run, there's a little crevice there. You can kind of run it through there and then run it down and around to your waste container. Now it comes with this as your waste container. I would recommend getting something a little bit bigger, like a water bottle or something, and then you cut the top like that and just kind of stick your hoses through. Okay, once you have your hose through, these sliders will be taped down. Just untape them and slide them across, and these are kind of what hold your film down on the edges. And then there's tabs on the rollers. You want to lift all those up, so just pull them up so that your rollers go up in the air for when it's time to feed the film through. So just pull all of those up. There's 4 in total. Make sure those are all pulled up and your rollers are up in the air like that. As well, over here, just make sure that your Ethernet cord is plugged into your PC, and make sure that your power is plugged in. Okay, so once you're plugged in, just make sure this switch is flicked over to the left. You're going to come up here, and this is your emergency stop button, which will be pushed in already. Leave that pressed in for now. And that is your regulator pump, and it's turned off right now and set to 0. And we will change that later on in the video. Okay, so your stop button's pushed down, your regulator's at 0 and turned off. And now it's time to drain the lines of the moisturizer in your white. So we're going to be draining all these lines. The reservoir, we got to drain out this line. These are your 2 white lines in and out, and we've got to drain this as well. So the things you'll need for this next part is an empty plastic cup. Grab yourself 1 or 2 of these. Syringe. You're going to need an X-Acto blade or something to cut the ink containers open with. And paper towel. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is empty any excess moisturizer that's inside the container before we drain the lines. So just take the cap off. This will be unplugged. We'll plug this in after. So just take the container out and kind of just pour it into the cup. Now there won't be much in there. I don't ship it with much in there, just enough to keep it nice and moisturized at the bottom and the lines filled with moisturizer. So now once you have the container emptied, so once the cap's on, you can plug this in now, and this is for your ink stirrer. So just plug that in. Only goes on the one way. Catch it. And now that's plugged in and you can leave it just like that. Okay, so we got the container empty. Now we're going to empty out this manifold of moisturizer and all the lines of moisturizer. So what you want to do is start off by taking some paper towel, placing it in front of where you're going to be working. So if anything spills, it spills onto the napkin. And then you're going to take your syringe, pull out your first damper, and you're going to start to prime all of the moisturizer out. So you just keep sucking from the one damper until it sucks all of it out, and that manifold here is empty of all of that. And you're going to discard into your cup or a container that you have. Just discard that into the cup and repeat the process. Pulling out until you get air. Just keep pulling until there's air. Okay, so manifold's empty. There's only air coming out now. I'm going to put this damper back and we're going to move on to the next damper. And we're going to pull out of that. And now there's not as much in each one, so you can just pull it back a bit and it empties it. Again, next one, pull out. Suck all of the moisturizer out of the line and as much as you can get out of the damper. Over to 3. Like that. That off. And the last one. Okay. Well, once all your lines are empty here and your manifold's empty, there's still moisturizer running through this line. So we've got to put our pump on and pump it into here, into our manifold, and then suck the remainder of that out. So I'm going to go through that process now. Okay, so you just want to pull the paper towel that you had there, if it's pressed up against the head or anything, and make sure that there's nothing around the head. Any paper towel, if you put it on the other side there, just make sure that that's all removed for a minute. And now we're going to power the machine on. So to do that, we just twist to the right, give it a twist and it will pop up and it will start to initialize. And your head's going to move a little bit. There it goes. Again, making sure nothing's in the way. If you put anything there, just make sure it's out of the way. Head moves a little to the left, back to the right, repositions itself, and then caps itself. So now once you're at this stage, what we're going to do is you're going to be watching here as you're turning this pump on. So it starts to regulate. We can turn it up to about there, about 30, and it's not doing anything right now until we get to about 50. So what you want to do is, at the same time that you're turning this very slowly up, you're going to be watching in here, just in this corner part. And what you want to do is, once it starts pumping the moisturizer through, so again, just turning this up very slowly, you'll start to hear it sort of kick in, and you'll see some movement. So you want to just turn it up a little bit more, and then let that fill up to the top with the moisturizer. Let that reservoir fill up right to about there, and then you stop it completely. Don't let it go up and then go into the other line. So stop it right about there, and then again you grab your damper, just the one damper, and we're going to drain that out. So we're going to drain out that bit that we put in there. Just prime that out. Once it's empty, put your damper back in place, discard what you just pulled out, and then repeat that process again, watching it nice and slow, and we're going to feed out the remainder of that moisturizer that's in there. So again, turning this up very slowly, and it doesn't start to do anything till it gets to about 50 again, okay? So just nice and slow till you see it start to fill up, and then just keep it pumping nice and slow, and you'll see this line eventually empty out of moisturizer. And just keep on pumping until that's full, and there it goes there. It's pretty well empty now. So then you stop it. So now that, again, don't let it go up. You should only have to do this maybe a total of 3 times, 2 to 3 times. So it looks like we emptied out on the second time here. And so we're just going to drain the rest of that through the damper. Okay, so we're going to drain that last little bit out of the damper and out of that manifold. Just get the remainder of that moisturizer right out of there. Just keep sucking until you get air. Try to get as much out of the damper as you can. We're going to be doing a loading, so the remainder of this will go through that way. But you want to get as much moisturizer out as you can. And then you can put your damper back. And from this point, we're ready to put our white ink in, run the white ink through it, and then we're going to prime the white ink into the damper to put back onto your head. Okay, so we're ready to run the film through to get it all set up and ready to print on and do our first nozzle check. So you want to make sure all these rollers are up. Okay, we put those up earlier. So just make sure that all 4 are up in the air. And down here is your fan control. So just make sure that that's down low and that's your vacuum high. And that is what all these little holes are. In the top of this is a vacuum that holds your film down as it goes through. Plus it's a heater as well. It's hot. Now you can set your temperatures here. You can control your temperature and your vacuum speed. So I like to have the vacuum speed at full, and we've already preset your heat, so you don't have to worry about changing that. So let's move to the back and get this film going through. Okay, so your roll should be in place and these should be loose, so you're able to move your film back and forth freely right now until we get it set in place. So it sometimes has a tab there, just remove it, and then you're going to pull your film and bring it through. And there's a little bar there underneath, and I'm going to change angles on the camera, but there's a bar there and you want to bring it underneath it and then up and over. So I'll show you that on a different angle, and then we'll feed it to the front, and the vacuum, as we're feeding it, will hold the film down so we can go around to the front and straighten it out. Okay, so this is the bar here. You're just going to want to bring your film up under it. You go underneath like that. So you want to be underneath it, and then bring it back up and feed it through the front until it catches the vacuum. So just feed it through underneath the rollers until it catches the vacuum, and then we can go around to the front and adjust it accordingly. Okay, so we've got the film fed through to the front now. So what we want to kind of do is, on these tabs here, the far right one, we're going to line up the edge of this film with this tab, with just the edge, the very edge of this tab. So you just want to pull on it, and now if I pull it straight, I'm over this way too much. So I'm going to adjust my roll at the back and push it over a little bit so that it brings the film over a bit. And I do it just a little bit at a time until I get it perfectly straight with where I want it. So I'm just going to move the whole roll over just a hair and then re-pull on this. After you move the roll over, just pull straight and it will realign with where you moved it to. And what you do is we're moving it, so now I got to move it over that way just another little hair, and I should be lined up with the edge of this tab. There we go. And then you just pull on it straight, and now I went a little bit too much, so now I just got to put it back a hair, and then we should be straight. Again, just pulling straight, and now it's straight. I'm lined up with this tab. And I'll make a mark or something here so that you can also just kind of, maybe a mark here or something, so that you can just line it up to that as well, okay? But the important thing is to remember that on these tabs, these little gray tabs, you're just lining up to the far right one, just to the edge of it, and it just lines up with the edge. And then once it's lined up and you have it in place, then you click these down. Okay, so we're straight at the back here now. Now I can secure these into place to make sure that it's lined up and that your film is all straight. All here is nice and straight. So once you have that straight there, twist these and tighten them up. And this secures this so it doesn't move while you're printing. So just twist those until they're nice and taut. Give it a nice twist. Not crazy tight, but you do want them tight so that this doesn't move around on you. And that's how you run your film through. Okay, so now that's in place, you want to come back around to the front. You're going to make sure that these silver sliders are just over the lip on each side of your film, like that. Oops, make sure it's straight, and that it's over this side, the edge here and here, so it covers it all.